Hello, welcome to Pecan Corner. I'm Tina, and today I'm going to make almond flour buns. These are hamburger buns. And we're going to use blanched almond flour, baking powder, butter, and eggs. And I'll be right back. Alright. I've got my oven preheating. I've got a stick of butter in my bowl. I'm going to use 6 eggs. You'll notice I've got on my pans, I've lined them with parchment paper, and I'm using egg rings that are, you can either use, am I trying to say, like Teflon ones, or you can oil them just a little bit so that they won't stick. The reason I'm doing that is to hold this batter in one place while it sets up. Now I've got some regular egg rings, but I've also got, if you don't have those, you can just use cans. These are pineapple tins. Just take the the lids off both of them and smooth it down so you don't have any little sticky part from the lid on there. And those work great. In fact, they may rise up a little bit higher being in there like that. All right, now then, I'm going to cream my butter here. My butter's soft. You want your butter at room temperature or even almost melty. I'm going to cream it together. And then I'm going to add, you can do this in your mixer too. I just didn't want to pull out the mixer at this stage. See, it should be very creamy. Oops, got a piece of shell in there. Make sure. These are store-bought eggs. So often we have farm eggs, and so I have to crack them one at a time into a bowl. The reason I crack my eggs into a bowl is to make sure that I don't end up with pieces of shell in my product, because I don't like the. Ooh, that's a bad taste if you get a little piece of shell. Now then, I'm going to add. I only got 1 egg in there. I'm going to use a cup and a half of almond flour, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So I'm going to take a cup of my almond flour here, and then in the bottom of my other cup I'm going to put in my 2 teaspoons of, then this is baking powder. In the other one that we made, we used baking soda. Pick that up in a minute. Now I'm going to mix this in together. You can just alternate through there. That way it keeps your butter mixed up well. If you're using a mixer, your butter will blend in with the eggs pretty well, but when you're doing it by hand, it helps if you alternate the flour and the eggs. The eggs and the baking powder are what are going to help these rise up. And my little experiment with this, I know when you're making bread, even yeast bread or like cinnamon rolls, they will only rise as high as the container that they're in. They won't go above that. So if you, I just strung eggs across my towel, so I'll have to throw that in the laundry when I'm done here. So if you put your breads on a baking sheet, it's just not going to rise very tall because it doesn't have anything to climb up. So that's kind of where we are with this. Now then, I'm going to fill in my rest of my flour. There we go. that up good. This is making a really nice stiff, it almost looks like cornbread actually. Nice stiff little dough, which is perfect if it's like, and I want, it doesn't call for salt, but I want some salt in there, so I'm going to add, this sea salt is very fine, and so it reacts ridiculously to any kind of humidity. So, okay, I'm going to add a teaspoon of sea salt. And there goes the rest of my almond flour. I bought this on Amazon because I got a better price than I could get locally. It just depends. You'll have to look around. If you go look in Big Lots, be sure and look in two or three different places, because they'll have different brands in different displays, and you know, there can be a lot of difference in the prices. All right, let me move my camera, and we'll put these in their rings. Okay, now then, I've got 2 trays out here, but I don't know that I'm going to need all of that. Put that down. Okay, now these laid flat. See, that's a really nice batter. It just stands right. I was afraid it was going to be wet, but it's not. It's really good. And I want these tall enough that I can split them. That's kind of the key here. So I'm trying to use about half a cup of batter in each ring. So I'm going to end up with 4 buns or 8 halves. Let me get my spatula here. I know it's I know it's AR, but I just can't bring myself to not scrape the bowl. You know, it's like, oh, I could get 3 more bites out of that bowl if I use my spatula. Here we go. There. All right. Now I'm going to pop these into my 350-degree oven for 20 minutes in the middle rack. And then I'll be okay. My timer's going off. Now let's see how we're doing here. Oh, looky there. Looky there. Those rose up beautifully. Let me adjust my camera so you can see better. There we go. Oh yeah. Very nice. Now I'm going to let them cool a little bit before I pull the rings off, I think. But as you can see, they all rose up really nicely. These rose up about halfway, so but they all still rose about the same. So the rings really helped a lot. I'll be back when these are cool and when I'm putting. Okay, I've pulled the rings off of them. The pineapple cans actually did much better. They just pulled right off. As you can see, these kind of stuck a little, and I had to run my knife around them, mainly because, you know, they were way down here, and so the bread had kind of overlapped the top of it a bit. So I highly recommend the pineapple cans for baking these in. But there, that's how beautiful this is. Now let me get over here and put a hamburger together. Okay, I'm going to cut it with a bread knife. If you don't have a bread knife in your kitchen, young folks, you need one. And then you don't use it for anything else. You only use it for slicing bread. They're sharp, but they're not very sharp. And you can find old ones. This one was my mother-in-law's. This one was Thelma's. And you don't wash them in the washing machine, in the dishwasher, or in the dishwater. You merely wipe them off, and since you're only using them for bread, there's nothing on them but, and looky there, look at that beautiful crumb on that. And it holds up really nicely. It's got a real fluffy texture. Okay, now let me spread it up and put a burger together. I'm going to use some of my mustard here. This is some of my chili pecan beer mustard. If you don't like hot mustard, you can leave the hot pepper out of this, and it'll still be good. And then I need to make up a Creole mustard so that I can show you a little trick to keep your homemade mustards from being spicy. But they're very delicious. Now let me grab my burger here. Alright, there we go. Put some of those purple onions that keep staining my fingers. And I keep having to explain to y'all I've washed my hands. And some pickles. Notice I'm using hamburger chips right now. I bought some for us to make fried pickles with, and they're handy, so so I should be using my homemade ones, but I've got those instead. Anyway, there you go. There's a lovely real hamburger that is low carb and paleo. All right, thanks a bunch. I hope you'll enjoy this. Appreciate you. Bye bye. There you see that beautiful hamburger. Isn't that pretty? They're delicious too.